Ever get that feeling, staring at the computer, blank page, cursor blinking, and it hits you, wait, how long is this thing supposed to be? 300 words? Maybe 1,000? Or are we talking like 2,000 plus, like some people say you need for SEO? It's kind of a mystery sometimes, isn't it?
It's a question that comes up constantly, and it's a valid one too, whether you're writing the content or hiring it out. That ideal length for SEO, well, it's tricky.
Totally. So that's exactly what we're digging into today, the whole SEO text length mystery. Now, full disclosure, there's no magic word count out there, no set in stone rule. But looking at all the info we've got, there's definitely some solid advice we can give you so you can plan your content and really make it work. It's less about a single answer because that doesn't exist, and more about understanding why this length thing even matters for SEO, how your competitors are approaching it, and how that ideal length shifts around depending on, well, what you're writing and who you're writing it for.
You got it. Think of it like this. Understanding the why lets you make smart choices instead of just, throwing a bunch of words on the page and hoping for the best. So we'll cover why search engines even care about this, how to spy on your competitors, in a legal way, of course. Then the sweet spots for different content types and your audience, the big mistakes to avoid, some tools that can help, and even whether DIY or getting help is the way to go.
Sounds good. So first things first, why is text length even part of the SEO conversation?
Right to the heart of it. Well, one of the main reasons is how search engines figure out what your page is actually about. Longer texts, they can send more signals, more clues for Google to grasp the topic. What's cool here is that more content naturally means you're using more related terms. Think of WDFIDF. It's basically how search engines analyze the important words around your main topic, not just your exact keywords. Plus, you've got more room to use those main keywords and the secondary ones that add context.
It's not just about the words themselves either, is it? More text usually means more chances to link to other relevant pages on your site, that internal linking stuff. That helps Google see how your site is structured, improves indexing. But here's a key point. If you're trying to explain something complex in a super short text, chances are Google's not getting enough info to truly get what you're saying.
Exactly. And this ties into something else important. How long people stick around on your page. That's dwell time. Now, Google hasn't said this is a direct ranking factor, but it's a sign of whether people find your content valuable. They stick around, they engage. That suggests you're offering something good. So for you, this means structuring your content well, not just for search engines, but for actual humans who will read it. Keeping them engaged is the win.
Totally. And longer, well-planned content kind of naturally helps that, right? Clear structure, headings, maybe a table of contents for longer pieces, answering those follow-up questions a reader might have, using visuals, examples. All these keep people on the page.
Imagine this. You're searching for back pain relief. A quick 300-word article maybe gives you a tip or two, but a solid 1,500-word guide. That's got space to explain different causes, specific exercises with how-tos, even when to see a doctor. It just offers way more, and naturally, people spend more time with it.
Now, here's where it gets interesting. Google says length itself isn't the ranking factor, but it often goes hand in hand with quality. And that makes sense, right? If you want to fully answer user questions, really explore a topic, you're going to end up with a longer piece. So text length becomes an indicator of quality, not the quality itself.
That's a crucial difference for you to grasp. The stuff we've looked at gives some general rules of thumb depending on what you're writing. Simple topics, clear answers, maybe 300 to 700 words is good. Blog posts, guides, something like 800, 1,500, and those massive ultimate guides. Easily 2,000 plus, but got to be well structured.
So it's not about chasing word count, it's about having enough depth to give real value, make the topic crystal clear, both for the reader and for Google. Optimal length, it comes down to helping the user first and foremost.
You got it. And to figure out what that optimal length is for your topics, a really smart move is to look at what your competitors are doing, what's ranking at the top for the keywords you want.
So basically, becoming an SEO detective. It's called SRP analysis. That stands for Search Engine Results Page. It's all about looking at those top-ranked sites to see what kind of content Google's liking right now for that keyword.
The cool part for you is that by looking at what's already working well, you get a realistic idea of how much substance you need to compete. It's like scouting the other team before a big game, see what their plays are.
All right, so how do we actually do this SRP analysis thing? We found a pretty straightforward step-by-step for you. First, pick your main keyword. Let's say it's back exercises. Then just do a normal Google search. Now, important to remember, your results might be personalized based on your past searches, so keep that in mind.
Once you've got those results, next step, Open up the top 5 organic listings, not the ads. Then, try to figure out roughly how many words are on each page. You can use a tool for this, or even copy-paste the text into a word counter online, like wordcounter.net.
And while you're on those pages, it's not just word count that matters, right? Look at other stuff. How many subheadings they're using, any images, FAQ sections. Get a feel for the whole picture, what's working.
You got it. And luckily, there are tools that can make this easier. The info we looked at mentioned a few. Surfer CCO is known for its precise word count analysis, and it's got extra features like NLP analysis that helps understand the language used competitor comparison, though it's a paid tool.
Then there's RFs. It doesn't directly tell you the word count, but you can use its content gap feature and export the data to get a sense of it, kind of an indirect way. But RFs is a powerhouse tool, SEO audits, backlinks, keyword research, also paid though.
SEMrush is another big one. Their content template tool, that does have text length analysis, plus competitor data, recommendations, paid as well. Then there's phrase.io, specifically mentioned for its text length analysis, but it also helps with outlines, content briefs. Yeah, that one's paid too.
Now, if you want a free way to do this, you can always go the manual route with a word counter and your own observations. More effort, and you miss out on those fancy features, but it's a start. And good tip, look for free trials on those paid tools. You can often use those for specific projects.
To make this more real, the info we've got has some examples. For the German keyword 100 training tips, that's dog training tips, top results averaged around 1,700 words, mostly guide or blog post style.
Then there's Steuerberater Köln, tax advisor in Cologne. That one was closer to 800 words on average, mostly service pages.
And lastly, vitamin D, Wirken effects of vitamin D. Those top pages were over 2,500 words, in-depth articles, health guides. What's interesting here is how the results kind of reflect what users probably want and how complex the topic is.
These examples are helpful to see, right? Informational keywords, they often need longer content. Local stuff like finding a service. Shorter, trust-building content works. And medical or scientific topics. Yeah, longer text makes sense, partly because of Google's EEAT thing, expertise, experience, authoritativeness, trustworthiness.
So the big takeaway from competitor analysis is that those top 5, they give you the best starting point for your own length. But remember, it's not just about word count. Analyze what they're answering, their structure, and maybe you can spot gaps where you can provide even more info.
Right, it's not a magic solution, but it gives you a baseline of how much substance you probably need to be in the game.
Now, we've talked about the competition, but Ideal Links isn't only about that. It really comes down to what kind of content you're making and who you're making it for.
Makes sense. Not every SEO text needs to be this massive, in-depth thing. What matters most is what you're trying to do with that content, who your target audience is, and as we just talked about, what the competition's doing. The info we looked at breaks down different content types, and it really shows how varied this can be.
Let's start with product descriptions. For your online shop, the goal here is to inform clearly, build trust, and make buying easy. For these, the info suggests around 150 to 300 words per product. But of course, that changes depending on how complex the product is.
Makes sense, right? A simple USB cable, maybe you only need like 100, 150 words, technical specs, what it's for. But an ergonomic office chair, you're probably looking at 250, 350 to talk about the comfort, features, materials, health benefits. And something like a dietary supplement, maybe go over 300, explaining effects, any studies, dosage guidelines.
It's not just word count here either. Think about adding things like a mini FAQ about the product, a comparison table if you have similar ones, and those trust-building elements, reviews, certifications, where it's made.
Then we've got blog articles, which are more about answering questions, exploring topics, showing you know your stuff. Recommended length jumps up here, 800 to 2,000 words, but again, depends on the topic and how deep you're going with keywords.
Think back to those examples. What helps with back pain? Again, you're probably aiming for 1,200 to 1,800 words to give solid advice. Excel shortcuts for beginners, maybe that's shorter, 800 to 1,000. Then something like content marketing strategies, you could easily hit 1-800-2200 to cover it all.
And for these, structure's super important, right? Table of contents with jump links, especially if it's long, breaking it up with headings, using different formats, images, quotes, bullet points, it all helps. And something to keep in mind. Blog articles that keep people engaged, they tend to rank better over time, even if they don't have tons of backlinks.
Now for service pages, those are all about presenting your services in a way that's convincing, builds trust, and gets you leads. 500 to 1,200 words seems to be the sweet spot there.
Looking at the examples, a web design agency, they might aim for 900, 1,200 to really detail their services, maybe showcase some past work. But a local tax advisor, maybe 600, 800 is enough to build trust, highlight specializations, give location details. And an online language school, something like 700, 1,000 to explain their methods, course types, pricing.
Key things for service pages: testimonials, trust signals like awards or logos, clear calls to action to get in touch, and maybe case studies, examples of what you've done. Important thing, avoid fluff. Keep it focused and interesting, like a good sales pitch, just in written form.
Then we've got the big guns, pillar pages, cornerstone content. This is about establishing yourself as the resource on a broad topic, boosting internal linking, getting long-term visibility. We're talking 2,000 to 4,000 words or even more for these.
Imagine a pillar page on online marketing for beginners. Maybe it's got 10 chapters each with its own link. A dog care guide could be modules training, food, health, or taxes for freelancers, guide, glossary, links to resources. The key here is a table of contents, consistent structure, and smart linking to related, more specific articles. These things can bring in traffic for years.
Finally, we've got those FAQ pages, glossaries, lexicons. The goal here is to answer specific questions directly, build trust with clear info, and boost how search engines understand your site. For these, shorter is usually better, 100 to 500 words per entry, but keep it accurate and to the point.
An FAQ about how long does shipping take? That might only need 100 to 150 words. A glossary defining bounce rate, maybe 200, 300. A lexicon entry for vitamin D, you could go 300, 500 with more detail. Good tip. Use structured data, especially schema.org for FAQs, so you might get those rich snippets in Google's results.
So, to sum up all these content types, the info we've got gives a good overview. Product descriptions, 150 to 300, helping customers buy. Blog articles, guides, 800 to 2,000, providing in-depth info. Service pages, 500 to 1,200, building trust, getting conversions. Pillar content, 2,000 plus, establishing authority, long-term traffic. And those glossary type entries, 100 to 500, clear and concise.
There's no one-size-fits-all. The ideal length really depends on what you're doing with your content and who you're trying to reach. But even with the right length, writing quality is crucial. So let's talk about some mistakes people make with SEO text length.
Because more words doesn't automatically equal better, right? Actually, the info we've got says a lot of SEO texts underperform not because they're too short, but because of something called wrongfulness.
Exactly. One huge mistake is keyword stuffing. That's where people try to cram keywords in over and over, hoping to trick the search engines. But all it usually does is make the text sound awkward, repetitive, even spammy. Both readers and Google can spot that a mile away.
We've all seen it, right? Keyword in every other sentence. Reading it feels unnatural, and there's no real new information, just the same thing rephrased.
Much better approach is to use synonyms, related terms, but naturally. Right for humans, and Google will most likely understand too, tools like TermLab, Surfer SEO, or looking at WDF-IDF can help you find that balance.
Another trap is using empty phrases, just repeating stuff to hit that word count, like trying to inflate a balloon with nothing but air.
There's a good example. Explaining vitamin D and the immune system, but doing it 3 times? Different wording, but no new details. The risk is clear readers get bored, they bounce, they don't trust you as much.
Better strategy. One key idea per section, then expand on it with examples, graphics, sources. Not just saying the same thing over and over. Shorter, impactful paragraphs are often better than those long, meandering ones.
And then there's the mistake of missing user questions, basically writing off topic, even if you hit your word count. Happens when people focus only on keywords, ignoring the reason why someone's searching.
Like that example, Tax Advisor Hamburg. If your page just lists your services but doesn't answer, how do I find the right tax advisor in Hamburg? You're missing the point. Even if your text is long, people won't click or stick around because it's not what they need, so you might rank poorly despite the length.
To avoid that, really focus on understanding user intent. What are they actually trying to do? Tools like Answer the Public, Google's People Also Ask, SEMrush, those can help. Also, look at the SRP yourself. What questions are competitors answering? Any that are missed.
And a big challenge, especially with longer content, is a lack of structure. Imagine a giant wall of text, no breaks. It's overwhelming, hard to read, and hard for Google to understand too.
It's pretty obvious when this is happening. No headings to break things up, no bullet points, tables, no visual hierarchy. Everything just blends together.
Right.
Leads to higher bounce rates, people miss the key info, and it hurts your chances for featured snippets or site links.
The fix is to prioritize structure. Use those H2, H3 headings to organize, maybe by question or different aspects of the topic. Long articles definitely use a table of contents with jump links. And don't forget visuals tables, checklists, info boxes to break up the text.
The info we looked at has a good self-check for this. Does each section have at least one new idea? Is it repetitive just for length? Does it answer user questions for your keyword?
So the point is, length isn't the goal. Long content can be good, but it can also be bad if it's done wrong. It's about saying the right things the right way.
And to help figure out those right things and how long your text needs to be, there are tools out there that can give you some data-driven insights. They look at what's already working in Google's top results for your keywords.
They can give you a real edge, analyzing those top-ranked pages for the keywords you want.
One of the big names is Surfer SEO. What it does is analyze those top sites and create a content template for you. This template includes the ideal word count, usually the average of the top results, suggestions for keywords, outline ideas from your competitors' headings, even stuff like keyword density and sections per competitor. Really helpful for copywriters, agencies, editors, anyone who wants a quick understanding of scope and related topics.
Then there's phrase.io. This one goes further, automating a whole content brief based on the top 20 results. You get average word count, paragraphs, frequently asked questions pulled from Google, Reddit, Quora, all over, outline suggestions, ideas for making your content richer semantically. Great for bloggers, content teams who want to dig into not just length, but user questions and intent.
And then you've got ClearScope, MarketMuse, NeuronWriter. They do give length recommendations, but their main thing is semantic analysis, content scoring, basically, how well your text covers the topic.
ClearScope's strong on content scoring, competitor analysis, so it's good for companies with strong brands. MarketMuse is more strategic, big picture topic coverage, so good for larger projects, topic clusters. NeuronWriter often has AI help and WDFIDF analysis, good for solo folks, small teams.
It's important to know that all three of these will tell you about text length, often along with LSI keywords, title ideas, section suggestions, scoring. The info even compares them how precise their length recommendations are, their semantic analysis strength, do they highlight W questions, SRP features, and price level.
Now, if you're on a tight budget, there's always the manual method. Google search, incognito mode, open and copy text from the top 5, use a free word counter like wordcounter.net, even Google Docs works, and calculate the average.
Less precise, sure, but as the info points out, it's still better than flying blind. Important thing is, these tools give data, not decisions. You decide the length that works best for your audience. Think of them as support, not the boss.
So we know how to figure out length, but now the question is, who's doing the writing? Do you do it yourself? Use AI tools. Get help from agencies, freelancers.
Big question, and the best answer starts with being honest about your own resources, what you're aiming for.
Let's break down the DIY option first. This could be good if you like writing, know your audience well, you get full control what you say, the tone, structure, depth. You handle it all, and it's usually the cheapest option because you're not paying someone else.
But there are downsides. It takes time. You need some SEO know-how. You might have blind spots, things you miss that someone else would catch.
If you go this route, the info mentions some helpful tools. Hemingway Editor, Grammarly, those are for writing quality. NeuronWriter can help with SEO stuff. And for research, there's Answer the Public, Google Suggest, even some free phrase.io features for getting topic ideas.
Option 2 is using AI tools to create text, but then you edit it heavily. It's kind of middle ground, limited time, but good language skills. Fast drafts, then you customize. AI is good for more standardized stuff like FAQs, glossary entries, basic product descriptions. A starting point, not writing from scratch.
Some things to consider, though. AI text often sounds generic without editing. It can be repetitive, have logic gaps, even wrong facts if you're not careful. And there's a whole legal side of AI content, copyright and all that, that's still evolving. Human oversight is key. AI is like an assistant that needs your guidance.
Lastly, there's getting it done professionally. Agency, freelancer, someone specialized in SEO content. This is often the best if you need high-quality SEO-focused content, if you lack the time to do it all yourself, or if your content needs to sell, not just rank.
The benefits are pretty clear. These folks have experienced keywords, ranking factors, writing that converts readers into buyers. They usually have a process, so things are smooth, and often they're faster and better than you'd be on your own.
Of course, the main thing is it costs more. You're also relying on someone else, so quality varies. Choose carefully. A good sign, the info mentions, is if they ask a lot of questions, not just your keywords, but your audience, competition, your whole brand vibe.
To help decide, the info we've got actually has a table that compares DIY AI with editing and hiring, help cost, time, SEO knowledge needed, control, quality potential, scalability, all laid out.
In the end, it depends on your goals, resources. DIY can be great if you're structured about it. AI is a compromise for efficiency. But for content that's really key to making money, getting seen, professional help often makes the most sense. And one more thing, no matter how you do it, improving what you already have is often better than starting from zero.
Which brings us to content tunings. Sometimes the best SEO move isn't new content, it's fixing up what you've got.
For sure. A lot of content out there is underperforming because it's not quite what users want, not organized well, or the wrong length. So before you create new stuff, look at what you've got.
How do you figure out if a text is too short or long? The info gives some clues. If you're ranking on page 2 or 3, even though you're relevant, if you're only answering basic questions, if competitors are way more detailed, those could mean your text is too short.
On the other hand, if people leave quickly, even though your keywords are good, if it's hard to read, unclear, repetitive, if Google's not showing rich snippets for your content when it should, that might mean it's too long.
What if you find something that's too long? How do you shorten it without losing the important stuff? The goal is to be clearer, more concise.
Good strategies. Get rid of any repetitions, say it once, say it well. Cut filler phrases that don't add much unless there are specific details. Condense those long intros or conclusions. But often, better structure, shorter, focused sections are better than long explanations. Reading aloud helps. And tools like Hemingway Editor or Grammarly, those can help streamline your writing.
What about the opposite, a text that's too short and needs more? The goal here is to add depth, make it more complete, but not with fluff.
To extend a text and add value, some tactics. Elaborate on sections. Like, healthy eating becomes healthy eating plant-based options. Add an FAQ section. How often? What are the benefits? Who is this for? Examples or case studies can make it more real. Infographics, tables, those can summarize complex stuff visually. And adding sources, links to further reading that boosts trust, gives more context.
One really smart tip. Use Google Search Console. In the performance report, look at queries that give impressions but no clicks. That often shows you what your text isn't answering.
And one thing people underestimate, especially with longer content, is internal linking. Long texts are great for strengthening your site structure. Search engines love well-linked sites. It helps them understand how your pages connect.
Good internal linking means link to relevant pages, especially those pillar pages, glossaries, guides. Use good anchor text, the words that make up the link. If you've got a long article, use jump links within it. And think about making connections. Mention related topics, link to them if someone wants to learn more.
The info has a nice checklist to optimize your content, with audit questions, actions. Is it comprehensive? Where is it weak? Is it structured well? Internal links. Answering those missed questions from Search Console.
The point with content tuning is good SEO isn't a one-time thing. It needs upkeep, like a garden. You prune, you fertilize, you guide the growth, and you keep watching how it's doing.
So, we've talked about a lot. Why length matters, the competition, formats, mistakes, tools, who writes. Let's wrap it up by looking at how to decide the right length for your SEO text.
Because, as we've said, there's no one magic number. But there is a smart way to decide.
The ideal length depends on a few things. What's the user's intent? What do they really want when they search your keyword? How complex is the topic? Short overview or deep explanation? The competition? How in-depth are they? And what's your content goal? Inform, persuade, sell.
And remember, just writing long to hit a number, that usually misses the point. It's about targeted content that's precise, organized, relevant, not just a word count.
The info we've got has this helpful decision table to guide you. It asks about your text's goal. Is it detailed info or persuasive? Topic complexity, depth of top results, user questions. Is your text complete? Precise. Any linking opportunities? Readability. What resources do you have?
And before you hit publish, a little 6-point checklist. Did you analyze competitor lengths? That sets your baseline. Are you answering user questions fully? That's about relevance. Trust. Is it structured well, easy to read? Readability trumps length. Is it actually valuable or just repeating stuff? Redundancy's a killer. Can you make it more concise without losing anything important? Sometimes shorter's better. And finally, is it as long as it needs to be to cover the topic well, but no longer? Targeted, not just long.
If you're hesitant on more than 2 of those, it's probably worth another look, focusing on the why and the how, not just the word count. Because a good SEO text, it comes from precision, not just mass.
To wrap it up, let's go over some FAQs about text length that the info compiled.
One common one. What's the minimum length? The info says at least 300, 500 words, just for basic indexing. But for competitive stuff, informational articles, guides, you'll likely need way more, like 800, 2,000, or even more.
Another one, how does length affect ranking? And as we said, it's not direct, but longer texts have more chances to cover things fully, use keywords well, keep people engaged, all good signs for Google. But quality's king, always.
Can a text be too long? Definitely. If it's stretched out, repetitive, it loses relevance. The rule is, as long as needed to add value, cover the topic, but not a word more. Every section should have a reason to be there.
We talked about ideal length by type 2. The info summarizes it well. Product descriptions, 150, 300, blog articles, guides, 800, 2,000, service landing pages, 500, 1,200, pillar content, 2,000 plus, glossary type entries, 100, 500. But again, these are general. The exact length depends on the topic and what your audience needs.
And the big one, should you write yourself or get it done? We covered that depends on your time, budget, know-how. Pros often do the best job, but cost more. AI is a start, but needs editing. For crucial content, getting help often makes sense.
So the takeaway is optimal length isn't about a magic number. It's about understanding your user, your competition, what your content's for. Creating content that works is an ongoing thing, learning and adapting.
We encourage you to take what we've talked about, the strategies, the tools, and use them in your own work. If you want to dive deeper into anything, definitely check out the original info you gave us.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Remember, when it comes to your SEO text, precision beats volume every time.